serious news. The kind of news I don't want to report. I hate having to report this because I know I am the only media outlet in the mass media that's going to report it. But since I report the news that the mass media simply doesn't report, well, here goes. We all know that there was a buildup over the weekend regarding a possible attack upon the country of Iran. And we know that that attack did not take place. President Trump came out and explained that he felt that since Iran did not carry out the 800 or so hangings that they had previously announced they were going to do against people who were caught protesting against the Islamic regime, that he decided to hold off on the attack. Well, when I get back, hold off is exactly the right words. 9:16 p.m. on this 16th day of January, 2026. Hal Turner back with you. So the words hold off are apparently very accurate when it comes to the United States engaging in a military action against Iran. This afternoon, I actively monitored 24 Eurofighter fighter jets flying from Europe down along the east coast of Italy and into the Mediterranean Sea to land at a base on Cyprus. Name of the base is Akrotiri. It's a Royal Air Force base, Akrotiri, on the southern peninsula of Cyprus. Akrotiri serves as a crucial strategic hub for UK and allied operations in the Middle East and beyond. It is often referred to as an immovable aircraft carrier due to its vital location for staging forces. It was crucial in the Gulf Wars and in any other ongoing missions. It houses thousands of personnel and supports various international military activities. Now, as I said, I monitored at least 24 Eurofighters. They were flying at about 370 knots, all of them at an altitude of 30,975 feet as they traveled south in Europe, down along the east coast of Italy, down into the Mediterranean, over the southern tip of Greece, and landed at Akrotiri Air Base. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't take a military strategy expert to figure out why more than 24 Eurofighters are flying into Akrotiri Air Base. It seems to me, as a reasonable non-expert, that these fighter jets are being massed in the Middle East to protect the state of Israel for when the United States attacks Iran and Iran unleashes barrages that could be as big as 1,000 ballistic missiles at a time. In addition to this news that I am breaking, by the way, exclusively, no other media outlet anywhere in the whole world is reporting on the movement of all these Eurofighter jets. In addition to these jets, the USS Abraham Lincoln and its carrier strike group were ordered late yesterday to leave the South China Sea and proceed into the CENTCOM area of responsibility. Now, aircraft carriers can move pretty darn quickly. They can move 35 miles an hour. And that is a problem because some of the other vessels in an aircraft carrier strike group cannot move as fast as the aircraft carrier. I don't know if you're aware of that. Some of the destroyers, some of the guided missile cruisers, some of the supply ships, they cannot move that fast. So if you want to travel from the South China Sea, where the Abraham Lincoln was, to the Mediterranean Sea, usually it would take 2 weeks if the aircraft carrier kept its speed down to the maximum speed of its slowest strike group ship. But if the aircraft carrier is ordered to proceed at top speed from the South China Sea to, let's say, the Mediterranean, it can be done in as little as a week. Yeah. So yesterday, the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier was ordered to begin heading for the CENTCOM area of responsibility, which means the Middle East. The USS Teddy Roosevelt, I was told that they had steamed into the Red Sea, but turned out there was a mistake. It wasn't the Teddy Roosevelt aircraft carrier. It was the USS Roosevelt, which is a destroyer. People conflated the two vessels. I'm not certain why the two ships bear the name Roosevelt. The aircraft carrier bears the name Theodore Roosevelt. Maybe that's the distinction, aside from the fact that, it's a 1,000-foot plus ship with a displacement of about 102,000 tons, far larger than a destroyer. But that was the error in the information I got a few days ago when I was told, surprise, the Roosevelt just steamed into the Red Sea. It wasn't the Theodore Roosevelt, it was the USS Roosevelt, a destroyer. Anyway, the Theodore Roosevelt's off the west coast of the United States, and they're doing some Computex exercise, or were allegedly doing that. I don't know if they're going to complete it and then be deployed, but I know that the vessel itself departed the west coast 2 days ago. Now, if it's just offshore and it's doing some sort of exercise, well, it's not headed to the Middle East, but it certainly can head there. And then the George H.W. Bush, I was told, left Norfolk the other day. So U.S. naval power is being redirected toward the Middle East. Eurofighters today tracked live on Flight Radar 24 and the ADS-B exchange. At least 24 of them, and I believe they are still launching more aircraft from Europe headed toward Akrotiri Air Base on Cyprus. I know as well U.S. military bases throughout the Middle East continue to shift personnel and equipment to other bases. Some in the Middle East, some not. So when President Trump came out and said he wanted to hold off on the attack on Iran, hold off was accurate, because it is clear to me that we are now engaged in an air power buildup. European Eurofighters are headed to Cyprus. We are still moving people and equipment out of bases that are very close to Iran. U.S. naval aircraft carriers, strike groups are en route. Which brings me to the other news that I do not want to report tonight. And this is crazy. You ready? In a major escalation, the United States of America has moved two of its key amphibious assault ships, the USS Iwo Jima and the USS San Antonio, to waters just miles north of Cuba. Yes, yes, I actually said that. Military analysts believe this positioning indicates potential American action in Cuba. In a stunning escalation in and of itself, Cuban Army Corps Chief of Staff Joaquin Quintas Perez dropped a defiant warning to the United States straight from Havana. The Chief of Staff of the Cuban Army said, quote, "They would have to kidnap millions of us or wipe us off the map. Even then, our ghosts would haunt them forever," unquote. And the third story that I do not want to report tonight, I can't even believe I'm going to have to utter these words. Ready? The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, has issued several NOTAMs, notice to airmen, covering large areas of Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Pacific Ocean, specifically including parts of Colombia and Panama airspace. According to the FAA notices, airlines are urged to, quote, exercise increased caution due to military activity and disruptions to global navigation satellite systems. These notices to airmen are effective immediately and will remain in effect until March 17th. Again, that's covering large areas of Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Pacific Ocean, including parts of Colombian and Panamanian airspace. Now, it's not just the FAA. NORAD, U.S. North American Aerospace Defense Command, has also issued a series of NOTAM fly areas in Mexico and other South American countries due to military activity. So, the whole no more wars thing that certain people campaigned on seems to be headed toward bombing Colombia, Panama, Cuba, Mexico, Iran, hell, maybe even Denmark. Maybe they're going to have to pick one. I can't believe this is happening. And these notice to airmen are until St. Patrick's Day. What is this, the Rubio Doctrine? Didn't he say Cuba was next after Venezuela? It's a Trump hates wars. Okay, maybe. What's he doing? Cleaning up the backyard? Mowing? Picking up rotten limbs? Hauling off old junk?